Right. Hey, greetings, everyone. Wow, I'm terrified, but also very excited because I have two of my heroines on today, both at once. And they're not just heroines to me, they're heroines to, millions of people, probably around the world, not just in the United States. And that's Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Greetings, Dr. Bowden.
Hey, Naomi. Hey, Shannon.
Hey, and Shannon Joy. And these women have stopped at nothing to fight for children, in Dr. Bowden's case, to fight for her patients, in Shannon Joy's case, to fight for communities, moms, dads, kids. I would say the same of both of them. And the subject today is one that's long overdue, and I'll read their bios in just a minute. I love to do that always with such highly qualified interviewees, but these MAHA, we're going to get into it because it's not what we fought for. It's not what we pounded the pavement for. It's not what we endorsed. We're not getting the deliverables, and we're being asked to sit down, be good girls, and be quiet. And you know that the way to enrage the mama bears is to tell them to sit down and be quiet. So we'll get into that. But first, let me introduce these incredible women. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden is, or was, correct me if this is out of date, it's from Independent Medical Alliance, Dr. Bowden, Senior Fellow Otolaryngology and Sleep Medicine. Is that still current?
Yes.
Okay, great. She's a highly skilled senior fellow specializing in otolaryngology. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Perfect.
Good. And sleep medicine. After completing her residency at Stanford University, she became board certified in both fields. Stanford was also the incubator early on of Casey Means, was it not, Dr. Bowden?
That's where she went to medical school. That's not what she residency. Yes.
Gotcha. In 2003, Dr. Bowden relocated to Houston and joined Memorial Northwest Otolaryngology, where she worked with doctors Kyle McCutcheon and Alistair Gilchrist. Dr. Bowden has extensive experience treating sinus, sleep, and allergy disorders in both children and adults. As a mother of 4 boys, Dr. Bowden has spent many years being on the other side of the doctor-patient relationship. Her frustrations with the traditional medical system inspired her to open Breathe MD in 2019. Her clinic focuses on simplifying and enhancing the patient experience by offering multiple diagnostic and therapeutic modalities on site. Wow. This approach ensures that patients leave with a comprehensive treatment plan and the care they need. Breathe MD operates as a cash pay facility, providing fair and transparent pricing. I love this, with the convenience of ground level parking and online appointment scheduling. She is dedicated to medical research and is currently working on publishing her findings from recent COVID-19 testing. She serves on the advisory team of FLCCC and is a member of the AAPS. Additionally, she founded the Coalition for Health Freedom, a grassroots initiative uniting over 1,300 health organizations to advocate for collective action in healthcare. Unbelievable. Entrepreneur, healer, activist. Doing so much on so many levels. Shannon Joy, and this is her LinkedIn, and it's very brief, so I may not have the right one up. The Shannon Joy Network broadcasts daily at 9 p.m. on terrestrial radio, nationally via the shannonjoy.com and the Shannon Joy Show mobile app, Android and phone. So I don't have your
that's super old. I'm never on LinkedIn anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here I see some of your experience. She's host of the Shannon Joy Show. She was an account executive, extensive marketing background. She went to SUNY Geneseo, business management and marketing. And you also have a number of beautiful children, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I have 3, 19, 16, and 13, all in New York State, where we have the worst vaccine Gestapo, I think, than any place on earth, right? So, yeah. Which is what got me into this conversation.
That's right. And you entered the public eye in the health freedom movement by being dragged off in handcuffs, as I recall, when you were trying to protest
masking.
And masking, the harm to our children. Well, let me just launch right in. I wanted you both to be present on this show because both of you have been incredibly brave and vocal. is specifically about the harms to kids and pregnant women from the mRNA injection. And both of you, we've had an election, MAHA joined MAGA, we all endorsed it, we all worked hard to get them elected. I'm not going to say no one had reservations. I know, some of you had reservations at various points, but we were hoping for better days. Our friend, RFK Jr., is head of HHS. Our dear friend, Jay Bhattacharya, is about to run NIH or running NIH. Marty Makary, who was a voice criticizing the COVID injections, is now perched at the top of the FDA, and we're getting zero real action. In fact, things are kind of misleading. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors about just today's news and yesterday's taking the recommendation, the CDC recommendation for the COVID shot, which we know to be injurious, harmful, sterilizing, deadly, off the CDC recommendation schedule. But both of you have drilled in, and so is Sasha Latipova, to point out that that's really kind of not true. Meanwhile, both of you are being lobbied to kind of sit down and be good girls and shut up. So I'm just going to start with Dr. Bowden. Tell me, what you've been trying to raise the alarm about, what you contacted me about today, and if you're willing, how you've been lobbied recently.
Yeah, I got a call from Calley Means yesterday, and we've had a lot of conversations. It wasn't our first, and we did an interview together. But he's friendly. It wasn't. There was nothing. There was nothing that heated about it. But my point with him is just all you need to do is state that the COVID shots need to be pulled off the market to get my trust, and he will not go on record to say that. I'm like, I just don't understand how hard this is. You say you support our message. You say you're in our camp. But you're not saying that, and nobody in the MAHA crowd is willing to just simply state that, and that is very telling to me. I mean, and he, he's like, we have to strategy. He used the word strategy like 400 times. And I'm like, well, that's great. I'm not a politician. I am facing injured patients on a daily basis. It's in my face every day. I mean, it's hard to, it's impossible to ignore. It would be unethical for me to play politics. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to just trust you. I need some definite proof that you are on our side. If you want me to trust you, I haven't seen it. There's no track record where where he or Casey or any of the MAHA leaders, other than Jay Bhattacharya, who signed the Hope Accord, even though they did put his name on the website. Apparently he did sign it. But no one else who has gigantic microphone position of power is really supporting our message. And I told him, I said, you want to build trust. We need some public statements that show that you're on our side. Or even, right. I said, I could get a written statement from all of y'all. I mean, even if it doesn't go public, I might trust you then. And we texted this morning. He texted me the announcement, and I said, "This is great. I support this. Now what? All it takes is a stroke. I don't understand. You don't need votes. What do you wait? You don't need votes, right?
Your audio, Dr. Bowden, your audio is coming in and out a little bit. I don't know if there's anything you can do, or whether you're just being silenced by the powers that be, because your voice is so powerful. But just letting you know about that. But if there's nothing you can do, don't worry about it. We'll forge ahead. We'll get a transcript. I can pretty much understand you. In the comments, can you all let us know if you can hear Dr. Bowden clearly enough? And then will you go back, Dr. Bowden, and drill down what was the announcement that Calley Means texted you?
Okay, I'm messing with my settings, so let me know if this is better. It basically, where Kennedy stated that the COVID shots would no longer be on the pediatric vaccine schedule or being recommended for pregnant women.
Now let's dive into that a little bit more, because that's exactly the kind of announcement just like hearings, right, without any policy change, that generate positive headlines, make it seem like there's forward momentum, but may or may not have teeth. And I respect you so much. I respect Shanna Joy. I respect Sasha Latipova. And she immediately on X this morning showed the injections for pregnant women and children still on the CDC recommendation schedule. So and then CHD jumped in, and this is so like, activist typical, right? Maybe they didn't update the website in time. They jumped in and said, CDC, please update your website, or words to that effect. But the bottom line, then Shannon explained to me, it really isn't taking it all out of circulation for kids and pregnant women at all, because pregnant women can be categorized as a serious health risk. And also their carve out was they're not recommending it for healthy children. So it seemed like there were lots of loopholes. So let me go back to you, Dr. Bowden. Was the announcement that Casey Means sent you one that is really going to keep doctors from recommending an injection that, to my knowledge, they're still getting bonuses for?
Right. Well, that's the big question. That's what I worry about, because we've got to convince the doctors to stop recommending them too. I mean, that's a big hurdle. And it's hard to say what this really amounts to. I mean, I saw one article from the opposition, MedPage Today, that's, just distraught over this news. And they interviewed Paul Offit, and it sounded like it really just boils down to now insurance companies won't pay for it. So I don't know. Is this really meaningful change?
Well, that's kind of big, but also not big, right? Because it means kids on Medicaid, low-income kids still or kids who don't have insurance are still at the mercy of these shots, right?
It's hard to say, but I mean, I think they're not very expensive. So I guess it still allows people to get it if they're willing to pay for it out of pocket.
I see.
That's how I interpret it. I mean, we need these shots to be pulled off the market completely. I mean, COVID's a cold. It just, and you see, okay, they can just stand up there and make an announcement on X and done deal. So they don't need votes. What are they waiting for?
What are they waiting for, indeed? So Patricia Winter says, Dr. Asim Malhotra has stated many times that the COVID shot and mRNA jabs should be halted. And I'll just say, yes, they've put people in place, including Marty Makary, who have been critical of the COVID injections. But that's, I think, what Dr. Bowden is saying, and I'm going to hear from Shannon Joy in a minute, is that's not the same as taking them off the market, which the FDA has the power to do, right, Dr. Bowden?
As far as I know, Marty Makary has the power with a stroke of a pen.
That's right.
Maybe it's career suicide for him, but what a way to go down. I mean, what a way to go down. And I mean, if it were me, I'd gladly give up my position if I could make that kind of impact. And once that is signed, it's very hard to get it back back in business. I mean, if they get it, if they need it, if they want to put it back on, they really have to have data. So go for it. Lose your job. Who cares? Do the right thing.
Right. Do the right thing. And let me ask you this before I go to Shannon. I don't know if you saw Marty Makary saying in a mainstream media interview something like, well, we need lots more data to see if this injection is dangerous or if I should recommend against it. Were you aware that he said something like that, Dr. Bowden?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he was like, oh, should we give a 12-year-old their 8th booster? Well, of course we shouldn't. Why would you even contemplate that? Yeah, I don't trust Marty Makary. I mean, 2023 said, I recommend these COVID shots for pregnant women. And that's shocking to me. So I worry about him. I don't know that he really is on our team.
Right. Okay. Well said. And thank you. I never want to push people to come forward with material that's in the public interest unless they're ready, but it was quite courageous of you to share that call from Casey Means. It is one that's in the public interest, and you did the right thing as you always do. Sorry?
Just to be clear,
Calley.
It was from Calley. I have never spoken to Casey. I have reached out to her, but I've never spoken to her.
Calley, I beg your pardon. That was brave. So let me go to Shannon. What are you upset about, Shannon? Any parallels here?
Yeah, there's so many parallels. I would say from the outset, one of the original problems, the glaring elephant in the room from the very beginning, even with the nomination of President Trump for the GOP to run for president, and then the bringing in of Bobby Kennedy Jr. From the very beginning, the Trump administration has been behind these shots. They have recommended these shots. The executive order that ushered Operation Warp Speed into existence was signed by the President of the United States. And to this day, on the record, I don't think there has been any statement from this president or his administration. People like Susie Wiles, she is his chief of staff. She controls all of the information that gets to the president. And in addition to a lot of the corporate and oligarchical entities that funded large parts of his campaign. So Peter Thiel and Palantir and Elon Musk and a whole host of big tech corporations, which were the driving force behind the mRNA technology, which was more of a technological advance than it was a biological advance, right? Yeah. So this was something that I was screaming from the rooftops from day one of the nomination process. And then when Bobby Kennedy Jr., who I know personally, many people very close to Bobby Kennedy Jr., I've never met Bobby, but I have worked with and have, engaged in collaborations with many organizations, within his sphere of influence. Lots of conversations in the summer of 2024 saying that this can never work, that it's necessarily going to fail, because just joining this administration is going, they're just not going to let you, they're not going to admit that the shots are killing people. They are not, there's too much money there. The crime is too great. There is such an attempt to cover this up. If the reality of what they had done to us, which was essentially a democide, a lockdown, the COVID kill protocols, the rollout of the poison mRNA technology that was foisted. I mean, the propaganda, the sophisticated propaganda used to push it, and then also the Biden administration's tragic requirements, that people be mandated to take the shots. It is so vast, and it is such an outrageous crime committed against humanity that they are going to do anything and everything they possibly can to cover this up and protect the institutions of the CDC and HHS, protect the pharmaceutical companies, protect the technology companies, not only to cover up what they did, but also to usher us into the 21st century economic system, which necessarily rests on the expansion of mRNA, right? That is the operating system that Catherine Austin Fitts just talked about on the Danny Jones podcast.
I don't know, just for the record, I don't know. I love and admire Catherine Austin Fitts and you. I don't know that that's been proven. Like there's a clear drive to get the mRNA into everything, into our bodies. They talk about it as an operating system, but I haven't seen two credible sources showing that this has anything to do with the Internet of Bodies. For sure, Casey Means has to do with the Internet of Bodies, but let's just go back to the tragedy. And I just want to say for the record, I don't know that yet.
And I haven't seen any studies conducted on the operability of the, of these technologies. And it was what was rolled out. We still don't even really know what was in all of those vials, right? We know that different versions went out. I mean, so there are so many questions there that could have been answered by people like Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Jay Bhattacharya and Macri if they were in a position, if they were truly in office to get to the bottom of this and get to the truth about this. We would see those things happening. It is not long.
We would see revelations of what's been done. We wouldn't be hearing this equivocating. We need more data. This hair splitting, healthy children versus sick children. We're going to inject them, or at least going to leave them on the schedule. Go ahead.
Yeah. So those were, and I had conversations, and I'm, some of these I'm willing to divulge, and others, I want to wait. I can tell you that like Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, I have been approached by multiple times over the past 4 years by some the highest profile members of the medical freedom community in MAHA out there. And I will say the first phone call I ever got that I felt was a pressure campaign was from Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. And that was in 2021.
I love him.
And I know. And he's wonderful. I've had 2 conversations with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, one face-to-face at the Brownstone Institute Gala, where we sat down for about an hour and talked. And then the first was in 2021. And I will say from my conversations with Dr. Bhattacharya, his main goal is to protect the institutions of public health and to restore trust in the institutions of public health. And his conversation with me in 21 was because I was speaking out against the vaccines, right? I was talking about the mRNA technology. We were looking at early studies. They had been doing 10 years of studies on mRNA technology in animals prior to Operation Warp Speed, and they were disastrous. And so as the COVID lockdown discussion became a vaccine discussion, that was when I got the phone call. And I'll never forget, he got my cell phone number somehow. I have no idea. He called me on my cell phone and he said, listen, I'm with you. If I recall, this is many, many years ago, I'm with you about, the lockdowns, and we could have been smarter, and we could have, and everything that they laid out in the Great Barrington Declaration, which was a very important document. He's like, but we cannot, if we go after the COVID vaccines, then people will lose trust in all other vaccines. They will lose trust in the
just going to jump in for just a minute. I hear you, but in 2021, a lot of good people, including Martin Kulldorff, didn't know how bad the vaccines were. They did trust. So let's skip ahead to now, because I'm really interested in what's happening to you ladies now. Are you being lobbied to calm down and support whatever HHS is doing? Get in line. Don't, get on the team. Don't cause problems for MAHA.
Oh, Jen? Yeah, absolutely. Starting then. And I agree with you. A lot of people did trust those technologies. But yeah, as early as last summer, right after Bobby Kennedy joined the Trump the Trump campaign, I was speaking out about it because I believed it was a poison pill. I believed that he would end up losing his base because he would necessarily have to betray them, because the apparatus in Washington, D.C. wants to perpetuate this mRNA technology and they want to hide what they did. That was my position. And I got multiple phone calls from very, very high profile people in MAHA that I'm not ready to. No,
that's fine. Not asking you to.
Yeah, basically, the exact same thing that Calley Means has slid into my DMs. So he's dismissive with me. He wants to talk off the record with me, and I always say to him, "Why don't you come on the record? I got a show. Like, let's have a conversation." He refuses to do so, but he'll pop into my DMs and challenge me. And sometimes he's somewhat rude with some of the challenges, but it is all about the strategy and the plan. Shannon, sit down, shut up, trust the plan. This is 4-dimensional chess. You have to be patient. You have to play ball. You have to gain access. The American people aren't ready to talk about COVID vaccines, which is crazy. 90% of the American people, I'm a marketer. I understand PR and marketing. 90% of the American people are refusing COVID shots. No one would care if we pulled these from the market right now in terms of marketing. And so all of this seems to me to be an attempt, tragically, to continue what was set in place in the first Trump administration, then through the Biden administration, and now in the second Trump administration. And they're trying to trick us with wordplay and fake headlines in order to achieve that. And they don't like it when people like us call that out. And that's why they start to get vicious, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing both of the things that happened to you. So I'm definitely seeing a pattern. I too, astonishingly, was contacted and encouraged to calm down and be quiet and trust the plan. Like the language, the talking points are similar, right? And that's how politics works. The influencers get the talking points and they're told, go out to these crazy bitches. They're still causing trouble. And, you know, get them to calm down, get them to chill out, tell them to align. I really, I am still a feminist. Yes, I, you know, got kicked out of the left, but I'm still a feminist. I still care about gender issues. And I'm definitely noticing two things. I'm noticing that a lot of people who were tapped to go into the administration or to become like overt influencers, they're doing that, right? But some of us aren't. And we're still saying, wait, the policies haven't been delivered. Wait, the policies haven't been delivered, especially on this number one, red hot, top priority issue, right? The murder of our children, the murder of our children,
Yes.
the murder of our children. And you two are two of the biggest voices. I'm going to add, of course, Sasha Latipova, Nicole Shanahan, and I'm seeing similar condescending male influencers approach either belittling in public, which happened to me and to Nicole Shanahan in different ways, or, you know, this kind of going behind the scenes and saying, oh, come on, girly, you know, get with the program, don't get hysterical. And I wanted to call this episode not mollified. You know, MAHA moms are not mollified. MAHA moms are not calming down. I guess what I'm noticing is all of us are moms, you know, and I'm not saying that the, you know, women who have not had children are not screaming about this issue. Of course they are. Dads are screaming about the issue. You know, men in general are screaming about it. But there's definitely a rift taking place in which we're being asked to stop screaming about all the things we've been screaming about for the last 2.5 years, as if we're not, like when you said we're going to notice the wordplay, as if people trained on the lies and obfuscation of the Biden administration and the Biden FDA are not going to notice the categories that are being left out or the gigantic loopholes of this CDC announcement, right? Or not going to notice that the shots are still legal, that the shots are still on the market, that nothing's changed vis-a-vis our number one issue. So I want to put it to both of you, starting with Dr. Bowden. Do you resonate at all to what I just said? Or if you see other issues with what I'm picking up here?
Well, I like it when they try to mollify me, because honestly, when somebody tells me not to do something, I just want to go do it even more. I mean, it's a for better or for worse. I mean, somebody got mad at me for retweeting somebody yesterday that they thought I shouldn't have retweeted. I'm like, I wish I could retweet it again. I'm so mad. So it's actually good. It just fuels the fire when they try to mollify me. I don't see any problem with it. And I really haven't gotten any overt messages other than the phone call yesterday. I got one early on from somebody else when Kennedy was joining forces with Trump. I haven't, other than I've gotten subtle shade thrown on me on Twitter, which I thought it was about me, but I couldn't prove. And then there are a lot of people who are very loyal to Bobby on X, who get upset, that I don't have any relationship with, and they're just followers and that sort of thing. With the whole Casey thing, they can't, you have to support Casey, even though, I've laid out very clearly why I don't. But we have to support her because Bobby supports her. That kind of mentality drives me crazy. But
well, maybe I should ask the question differently. I see the gender stuff and it drives me crazy. But let's talk about the politics stuff. Does it make sense to you that as leaders, along with other brave people of a grassroots movement that would not shut up under the most dire of threats from the last administration, that you're going to shut up if you're asked to get with the strategy, be patient, be grateful? Does that make sense to you as an approach, as politics? I'm so new at politics, which is a good thing, I think, because I just don't, to me, it's very I told this to Calley. I'm like, this is very black and white to me. This is very black and white. There's nothing. I'm not going to strategize and all that. And he doesn't need votes. He has the power. What is he waiting for? That's what I don't. I mean, it'd be one thing. Maybe he's
holding out till Casey gets approved, and that's BS if that's the case. I mean, what is he waiting for? So in I was going to say something. It will come to me, but I was going to say the men. I think the men need the power, and I think that's what. And the women don't. I don't need power. I have no desire to get a seat at the table. I just want these. I want this done, and then I want to move on with my life and go back to my children and my practice and go away. I don't have any aspirations to be a career politician. I don't want to move to DC. But I think that some of the men in our movement still have aspirations, and they're willing to kiss the ring. And I think that's what sort of sets us apart.
Yeah. Like, that's well said. Let me go to you, Shannon. What's your view of the be quiet, calm down approaches?
Well, it's highly irritating, but like Dr. Bowden, I don't mind it at all. It does mean that we're having impact, right? Just the act of making the phone calls and trying to wield their influence. And let's be honest, that's what politics is. It is the wielding of influence, right? They like to do it in the shadows. They like to do it on a phone call. And the truth of the matter is, I think most people will succumb to it. If you dangle some money, if you dangle an opportunity, if you plug them into the system and you get on board, then that results in highly lucrative deals. It results in a growth of your platform. And I can tell you, I've been doing this for 12 years. And I, in my opinion, have been denied a lot of growth in different platforms because of my decision to continue to relentlessly try to pursue truth as best I possibly can. Right. But I also agree with Mary that, and the way I say it, proximity to power, their brains. And the most generous
proximity to power does what to their brains?
Melts their brains. They go crazy. I mean, that's that. And if I'm going to be generous, this is what I would say. And in the case of people like Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who's lovely, right? Lovely. If you meet him and he's friendly and you would like to think that he's a kind and good person. And I think he probably is. Bobby Kennedy Jr. and all of them, I'm sure, are convincing themselves that if only they get enough power, if only they get through to the, this next hurdle, if only they listen to the PR people and play nicely and quietly themselves with Susie Wiles of all people, right? If only they do that, then at some point down the road, they will make some sort of meaningful difference. And I am sure that they believe that. I am sure that they tell themselves that. And I think that is what gives them that is what allows them to get up and just totally bullshit us with that announcement about removing the shot. I mean, there's so many wrong things with that announcement. There are so many deceptions, and they know they're deceiving us.
Can you walk through a couple of them that I may not have mentioned or gotten right? What's deceptive with their announcement today?
So the use of the word healthy is first and foremost, right?
Like healthy children. We're not going to recommend it for healthy children.
We're not going to recommend it for healthy children. Well, what is the definition of a healthy child? I assume it is what they would determine, what the CDC would identify as high risk, right? So to Dr. Bowden's point, and you and I talked about this last week, I think, Dr. Bowden, or the number has been thrown out there. In the United States of America today, almost 180 million Americans would qualify as high risk, AKA unhealthy, which is why they did that separation. That's a trick, right? If they had said high risk, then everyone could go to the CDC website and look up the list of high risk Americans, and they would see that pregnancy itself is considered to be high risk, meaning they're saying we're not recommending this for healthy pregnant women when the definition of pregnancy is, at least the last time I saw it was a high risk category. And so then you have the problem of them now isolating what they, a population or cohort of people that they say are high risk. Well, those high risk people who have, inflammatory diseases, people who have cancers or suppressed immune systems or are pregnant or are sick in some other way are the most vulnerable to serious adverse injury and death. So they are now isolating a group of people and recommending just to them, which we know is going to be dangerous for that group. And so
can I just jump in? Let me pause you there and ask Dr. Bowden to respond to that. When Shannon pointed this out earlier, I was thinking, oh my God, that's right. They're going to take immunocompromised kids and give them an injection that hurts their immune system. They're going to take kids with allergies and asthma and give them a shot that makes their allergies and asthma worse. They're going to take kids with, heart issues and give them a shot that makes their heart issues worse. What's your view of them saying, okay, we won't recommend it for healthy kids, but we're going to keep recommending it for kids who have problems?
I think they're going to use it as a marketing tool. They're going to scare parents into getting these shots. So right now, only 13%, which is 13% too many, but 13% of American children have had the latest version of the COVID shot. Well, I think they're going to use this new, categorization of healthy versus non-healthy or high risk and market it and try to increase those numbers. That's my theory. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
That's even more diabolical.
That is hideous. And what Brian said is it's a cull, right? They're going to take kids who are sick already and make them sicker. And they're going to cause deaths. Like, we know now that this injection damages the hearts of minors and young adult men. And they're going to take kids with heart problems and give them this injection because they're not well. And then, Dr. Bowden, what's your view of Shannon's assessment that pregnancy is a high-risk category, so they're really not saving pregnant women from this injection?
Yeah, that's a little bit muddy, because last week they said, okay, if you're pregnant, you're high risk, so you should get the shots. And then today they're saying pregnant women shouldn't get the shots. So
wait, hold up. Someone from this administration under HHS said last week, if you're pregnant, you should get the shots?
Well, that was that whole paper that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. They listed high-risk categories, and a high-risk category was just simply being pregnant or even recently pregnant. You were considered high risk, and so you were on this.
I didn't process that. As mad as I am not mad enough. This is monstrous. These are monsters now. They've crossed over from being our friends and our allies. If they're supporting this injection into pregnant women at this late date with whatever nonsense they managed, or their allies managed to get published in the New England Journal of Medicine, they are true monsters. They know. They can't not know. Like, the work we've all done makes it impossible not to know that this injection kills babies in utero. Pfizer's records showed it killed babies in utero. That really, okay, go ahead, Dr. Bowden, I interrupted you.
I was going to say, it's consistent with Dr. McCurry's tweet in 2023, right? It's really, it's very consistent. He supports these COVID shots in pregnant women.
This is worse, like literally worse than the last administration in some ways. So Tom Carr said it's sick. Prayer X10 said special needs children are going to get it. James Green said a pregnant woman stood a better chance in Dawn of the Dead 47 years ago. Human Being said depopulation agenda. This is so bad. Like, you're blowing my mind right now, because I didn't realize they'd gone that far. Oh my God. Shannon, do you have anything to add to that before we get into my next subject, which is the politics of MAHA? Go ahead.
Yeah, on my live chat today during my show, I had one of my viewers mention that this does have a tinge of eugenics to it, because what they are doing is targeting the sickest, most vulnerable populations of Americans, and they are ramping up the recommendations now for them to be vaccinated with the mRNA technologies. And I think that the use of the word unhealthy was absolutely PR tested and was absolutely wordplay, because they knew if they had said high risk, then everyone would have known from what we revealed last week and what Dr. Bowden revealed last week about pregnant women being part of that high risk category. And so they purposefully changed the word in order to hide what they are trying to do. And that does make it diabolical. It does. And I would say that the gentleman who stood up and made that announcement, Robert Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and Dr. Marty Macri, I would say that they are probably telling themselves that the ends justify the means, that if they just have a little more time, if they just have a little, a more creative campaign, they can get these things done. But the problem is they are losing credibility, and they're losing credibility fast. Did you guys wonder why, last week, Senator Ron Johnson had the hearing featuring testimony from Dr. Peter McCullough and Aaron Siri. And, there were some issues with that testimony, but what they delivered was an absolute bombshell, and it was on the congressional record. And it was
Shannon, that was our bombshell, right?
I know. I was just going to say that. Yes. Well, and we're going to have you on tomorrow. You're going to join me tomorrow to lay that all out. But no, that was, the work that was done by Daily Clout and the Pfizer papers, which you guys put together, all of that research was presented, not crediting you. Again, another one of these kind of male, it seems, whatever, but it just occurred to me today. I don't believe I have heard a peep out of HHS or CDC. I don't know if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or any of them even attended that hearing. You would think in their position as the head of Health and Human Service that they would want to be at that hearing. They would be drawing from the testimony delivered at that hearing, and they would be blasting it out.
You think so?
But they weren't, that I know of. I don't think they mentioned it at all.
No, I will say I was told that the hearing, I was told by a high-level source at the center of the activity, that the hearing was constructed to draw the fire away from RFK Jr., probably so he could make this announcement that he made yesterday. You notice the timing, and timing is everything in politics, right? We're all like, oh, look, they did this great bombshell over here. And we're not talking so much about, well, apart from the not crediting us, but we're not talking about the fact, which I just processed, that they're supporting the injection of you're right, eugenic injection of the sicker kids and pregnant women. And let me jump in, and Dee Dee Tudor is saying amen, Shannon. And let me jump in and say, connecting the dots about eugenics, I don't think that's too strong a word. I interviewed 2 parents of kids with young adults with special needs who were medically murdered in the COVID protocols. And they both had Down syndrome. And then we know the elderly have been medically murdered. And in fact, one of my earliest interviews with Dr. McCullough, he said in Northern Europe, they're euthanizing the elderly with the COVID protocols, essentially. And then when I looked at how the COVID vaccine was tested in Hong Kong under the CCP, the first injection enlarged the heart and caused some damage of rats. The second injection caused visibly enlarged heart, white patches on the heart, catastrophic organ system failure in rats. So they knew that cumulatively they were going to be killing mammals over time, I should say. So I can't help thinking this is grosser and scarier than I even thought. When you guys are teasing out that the categories who are still going to get injected are already sick kids who are expensive to treat, who cost insurers money, and pregnant women whom they want to, for some reason, they want to do what they're doing. They're collapsing the birth rate, right? We know that. So 30% drop in live births in the Czech Republic, 13 to 20% in Western countries around the world. So they're continuing to drop the birth rate and to have the babies that are born have lifelong problems, which then is good for pharma. Dr. Bowden, am I over dramatizing or reading too much into possibly maybe if it's not intentionally eugenicist, it's certainly singling out in a very Nazi doctor's way the vulnerable. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I am not there yet. I guess I still believe, I think to them it's like a religious experience for them. I mean, refusal to see the facts, blinded to the truth, motivated by money. I can't leap to they're purposely trying to kill people. But hey, who knows? I never thought I'd be in this situation at all. So maybe I'll come to that conclusion at some point. It certainly does not make any sense to give these people it's a cold. I mean, it'd be one thing if maybe people were seriously ill at this point, but I don't worry about my patients who have COVID ever. I don't even really want to treat them, but I will if they ask me to, but it's not anything like it used to be.
Right.
Can I speak to that for a moment, Mary? Because I think a lot of people have a hard time with this conception of these people knowing what they're doing and wanting to harm people. And if you look into the history and you study the history of eugenics, which I have over the years, I've looked into what happened in Nazi Germany, what happened in the 10 years prior to the Holocaust, which was systematic killing, the T4 action that euthanized the sick and the vulnerable in hospitals by doctors and nurses. That preceded what happened in the concentration camps. And if you read some of the testimonies of the nurses who were tried at Nuremberg, and some of the doctors who were also tried at Nuremberg, the most consistent testimony that they deliver is that we thought we were helping people. We thought we were addressing, the health issues of our time, and we believed that if through science and technology, if we just manipulated this or that. So I'm not making when I use the word eugenics or that philosophy. Now, I do believe that certain people understand exactly what they're doing and they are diabolical. But I would say the vast majority of nurses and doctors and staffers and potentially even people in HHS and the FDA truly don't believe that they're harming people in the way that we would see it. But it's
Shannon, I've got to jump in there. Yeah. I respectfully really disagree with you. I'm not going to give them that out.
Okay.
I mean, I do agree for sure that people in a eugenics culture or euthanizing culture, which is what at this point big tech and big pharma are in some ways, don't see the intentionality of it, don't want to acknowledge their role in its intentionality. But just look at these two events last week, right? And it's a small group of people and they all work together. On the one hand, you had Senator Johnson appropriating our work, which showed that that the Israeli Ministry of Health and a major pediatrics organization was trying to tell the White House and HHS and the FDA and Dr. Walensky that the injections were harming kids' hearts, right? That was the testimony on the Hill. And then at the same week, you have, the head of HHS and the head of NIH now, and Marty McCarty, the head of the FDA, rolling out an announcement that if you look at the fine print, shows they're going to keep giving the thing that's hurting the hearts of kids to sick kids.
Right.
I don't know, like, how do you can't get away from that math, right? There and there's no excuse for not looking at these two things side by side. They came out of the same administration. Well, I don't need to make you agree with me. I just wanted to put it out there.
I hear you. Yeah. And the closer the proximity to power, the more they know. And frankly, I think the more diabolical they are. It's just, we don't have access. I'm not privy to what drives them. And so
you're right. You're right. And so I'm not going to say we know what drives them, but I'm going to say as a reporter, when you have these two data sets, right? They knew in 2021 and it's a big bombshell and they're rolling it out for political kudos, which they're getting around the world, that the Biden administration knew they were hurting kids and that there was even a discussion about, should we tell kids not to exercise if they've had the injection because their hearts could go out, which later happened and is still happening, and at the same time, like what you guys are explaining to me is blowing my mind. Our friend RFK Jr. is saying, oh, awesome, we're going to confine this to the healthy kids and still recommend that we give it to the sick kids. There is no way. That's not a purgatory level thing. That's a damnation of the soul thing. I'm sorry. I love this guy. I don't know. I love all these guys. I love these two friends up there. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but that is not an okay side-by-side set of statements because the knowledge is there. Dr. Bowden, unless you want to speak to that, I want to move on to one last thing in the rest of our time together.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Okay.
I'm just a little curious what happened to the Israeli data, if you know, because
Say that again. You're breaking up a little.
Israeli data, apparently the adverse events, 82% of it just disappeared. Did you?
I don't understand what you're asking.
So Israel, they rolled out the shots very aggressively, very early. They were sort of the test country. And you mentioned that, and I wasn't aware of this, that the Israeli Ministry of Health testified in Congress that there were all these issues.
It wasn't. Just to step back a bit, our writers, Ed Berkovich, a lawyer, and Amy Calley, my COO and the project director of this group of doctors and scientists, FOIA'd in 2023 every mention of the word myocarditis from the CDC. And they got back about 500 pages of documents. They laboriously went through those documents. They wrote 5 articles. Senator Johnson didn't cite any of them properly, if at all, though he built the whole testimony on what they found. And what they found was that the Israeli Ministry of Health had tried to reach the White House and the CDC saying, we're seeing a signal of heart damage in minors. And so did pediatricians and pediatrician organizations trying to get guidance from the CDC about the fact that they were seeing heart damage in kids. And then instead of coming forward, this was March to April of 2021, and telling American parents that they were being told that people on the ground treating kids were seeing heart damage. Instead, the FOIA records show a freak out at the highest levels, including the White House staff and maybe POTUS and Dr. Walensky, Dr. Fauci, to cover it up and to give a script saying myocarditis is transient and mild, which it, often isn't. So that's what we disclosed, and media around the world are covering the story, but not crediting the people who actually broke the story, which is painful, but a different subject. But no, they did not come forward publicly. But they should have. They all should have. The Israeli Ministry of Health should have. The pediatricians should have. Like, it's all blood on their hands. But it seems like we're seeing a replay now with a new administration of similar kinds of decision making. So do you want to speak to that, Dr. Bowden, or shall I go to my last question?
Yeah, that was it. I will say that over the weekend I was looking this up. Their version of VAERS, they lost all their data. They lost 82% of their data. So, which is, I thought, well, maybe have more to say about that. I couldn't find much beyond that.
The Israeli data that went missing in the bottom of someone's shredder.
Wow,
that's intense. I did not know that. And Revman Solution says, did she say 82% of data in Israel went missing? Are you saying that, Dr. Bowden?
Well, and I just glanced this in a Google search, but 82% of their version of VAERS, so the public reporting system, that 82% of that data just disappeared, where they're attributing to some sort of technological error and so I was looking to see, okay, what were the adverse events in other countries? And so I looked at Israel first, and they don't have the data.
This is heartbreaking. It's being mirrored around the world. In Iceland and in Canada, their records for live births stop in 2020. They just stopped counting. So Diane Groner points out, Doctor of Philosophy and English Literature. It is true. I have a DPhil in Victorian poetry. I am not a medical doctor. Dr. Bowden is a medical doctor. All right. So moving on, the last few minutes, I want to talk about the politics of telling furious mothers to sit down and shut up and get on board and be a team player while children are being targeted with more injury and maybe death. In my experience of highest level politics, back in my past life when I was political consultant to the Clintons and to Vice President Gore, that's not how you play politics with your own side who are criticizing you. You don't tell people, you don't call them and tell them to sit down and be quiet. You give them something, you negotiate for, some of what they want. And I just want to say, for the record, to the RFK Jr. team, to Calley Means, that's not how you're going to win us over. I won't speak for you guys. we're not going to shut up because you ask us to shut up. I'm not going to speak for you guys. I'm just going to speak for myself. If you want furious MAHA moms and leaders who are not silenced or bought off yet and will never be to support the mission, you've got to give us maybe not all, but the key elements of the agenda that we fought to get you elected for. It's that simple. You've got to negotiate. And I just want to say for the record, it's going to get worse. I'm not going to talk for you guys, but for myself, we're going to keep screaming and pointing out the injuries and murders to children and pregnant women, the bad science, no matter who's in office. And also, no one owns MAHA. I just want to say this. That no one owns MAHA. It's like no one owns God, right? You guys don't get to have MAHA if you don't deliver for MAHA. And there's no ambiguity, as Dr. Bowden said, about what MAHA wants. Number one, these shots off the market, no more mRNA, no more of that nonsense. So I'm just warning decision makers that these furious moms sitting here in this podcast, but also millions across the country, and the dads, RFK Jr. was the point person for them. He's in office. He's got to deliver. If he doesn't deliver, the midterms are coming up and there's 2028. And MAHA is now a kingmaker and a queenmaker. And MAHA is not tethered to one administration or to one candidate or to one HHS official. So I'm just saying for the record, you've got to give us some of the key points we want, or we will take it elsewhere. And right now, MAHA represents that critical swing vote of white suburban women. There are other people in MAHA as well, obviously, but no one can win, not the left, not the right, without that swing vote. And now we're organized, and we're not going to not be organized going forward, okay? So whether it's Moms for Liberty, or whether it's, what Dr. Bowden has started, or what Shannon Joy is organizing, or all the other people out there, they're going to fill the void, right? They're going to fill the void, and they're going to keep fighting. And so if you want us to support you going forward, you have to do business with us. I just wanted to say that. Dr. Bowden, what's your view of the future? What's going to happen to dissidents like you in MAHA if the people we fought to elect keep blowing us off, disregarding us, giving us nonsense policies?
Well, yeah, I want to use my social media influence to get people into office that agree with us. And so that's why I started Americans for Health Freedom. And our foundational project is to get politicians who had the courage to simply state that the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. And we helped a lot of people in Texas get elected this past session. And we're working to get more people elected. We've got 244 elected officials on this list. And we have, for the next go around, we have 6 candidates, but we will gladly add more to that list. But that's what I want to use my influence is to get people elected who have common sense. I mean, to me, it's a litmus test. Right. And politicians are not getting the shots. They're not giving them to their children. And yet, why are they safe enough for everybody else if they're not safe enough for them? So I want politicians that have some courage and have some integrity, and that's who we are going to back.
I love it. And so how do people support you? I want to support you. Are you going to run? I love it.
Oh, no. But yeah, so we want more politicians. So you can harass them. I like publicly. I like people to be challenged in front of everybody. Sign this pledge, please. Go on X and put it in their face and say, hey, why haven't you signed this pledge? That's the best way you can help us.
I love that. And how do people send you, support, get information? Do you have a website or a location they can find this information?
AmericansForHealthFreedom.org.
Love it. Thank you for doing that. And I just want to say that's such a smart way to go. It's much easier to have an impact at the state than at the federal level, even when you've got a team you support, as we're seeing. And if Dr. Bowden can get 6 people running or in office with her agenda, just starting from herself and her guest room, there's no limit to how many people we can elect at the state level and maybe even in the next presidential election. and then the midterms. And Sandy says, we will never be quiet in the face of inaction. We will fight even harder. The medical freedom movement existed long before MAHA and even before RFK Jr. was dragged along regarding mercury and adjuvants. I mean, to his credit, he did a lot of leadership there, but leadership has to be renewed every day. Shannon Joy, what's your view of the future of MAHA, and will the furious MAHA moms shut up just because they're told to?
Well, that was actually a perfect segue to how I was going to kind of end this discussion. I would say to these politicians, these men in proximity to power, these people who are looking to shape the future, there is absolutely no issue. There is no parallel issue in any way, shape, or form in this country, whether it's immigration, education, healthcare, taxes, economy. There is nothing like a mother who loses a child the day that that child is vaccinated. And I can say, as someone who was also in the medical freedom community long before COVID existed, long before MAHA existed, I got into this battle 10 years ago because I had 2 children who were injured by coerced vaccination. And I held my daughter in my arms as she suffered a severe febrile seizure just days after the DTaP polio, where, her head rolled back, her eyes in the back of her head, foaming at the mouth, my darling little 2-year-old daughter, which required hospitalization. My son at 5 years old, diagnosed with epilepsy, the onset of that epilepsy, 40 petit mal seizures or absence seizures that came about just days and weeks post DTaP polio. So that was my experience. That's why I got into this battle. That's why I fight for medical freedom and informed consent. And to the parents and the mothers who have lost their children dead the day of vaccination, this issue never goes away. This issue will never go away. And COVID just helped to bring more millions of Americans and mothers tragically to this position, because it was, such an in your face and coercive, event in our lives. And so if these politicians think that they can scurry away and do their little wordplay and trick us into believing their movement, they can think again, because it is not happening. I will double and triple down on what you said, Naomi, not going away, only getting louder. The more they push back, the more they try to trick us and pat us on the head and tell us to go away. Oh, hell no, it's our children. And it's just not happening. So that's where I am. And I've survived these past 12 years doing this. So we'll survive doing this into the next 10 years. And history is going to write about this time. And they are going to remember the people who stood for freedom and for life and for humanity, and the people who stood in the way of that. And so I would encourage all of them to think twice about going up against this movement of moms.
Here to both of you. I'm getting chills. And as one of our commentators said, moms don't stop. And you guys are not going to stop. Prayer X10 says, yes, neurologist tech here have seen seizures. So you're not imagining things, obviously, Shannon Joy. And you guys just said it all. MAHA, be on alert. I mean, formal MAHA, be on alert. The moms are not going away. The moms are not shutting up. And not just the moms, but all the moms' allies. Watch mother bears who are told to look in the other direction when babies are being injured or pregnant women are being targeted. Just watch. I can't thank you enough. MAHA survives and thrives. And Shannon, where do people find you?
Oh, certainly. Follow me on Twitter at Shannon Joy Radio is my Twitter handle. And I broadcast daily, noon till 1:30 p.m. live Monday through Friday. You can follow me on Rumble or go to my website, theshannonjoy.com, to get all of the information.
That's right. I'm going to sign off now, but I also want to say you haven't heard the end of us. Oh, no. Because there's some plans brewing to to get more things done, to get our agenda met at the highest levels. All right. Thank you, ladies. You're absolute warriors, and I'm honored to know you both.
Same. Thank you, Naomi.